Talk a little bit about their capacities, their sizes and their ideal uses. Now there's quite a number of different types of ball jars and we can group them into families. We have the regular mouth jars, which are these three here, the quart, the pint and the half pint. We have the wide mouth family of jars, which include a pint and a half, a quart and a half gallon. We have the quilted jelly jars or jam jars, which are available in a 4 ounce, 8 ounce, which is also the same as a half pint, and a 12 ounce. And then the elite family, which is a half pint and a pint jar. And finally some novelty jars, which include a little salt and pepper / spice shaker and the ball handled mug. They're so-called regular mouth because of the width of the mouth of the jar, which is basically a 70mm opening. Now all the jars come equipped with the lid, which incorporates a seal and a screw band. All the jars in the regular mouth family have the same lid, so you can use this lid across all 3 different sizes. Now the half pint jar is roughly 230ml, so that's about just under 1 cup of fluid. Height wise, this jar is about 10 centimetres tall. It's a really good jar for jams, for chutneys, for pickles and for very small servings of finely chopped vegetables. The pint jar, it's a very handy jar. This jar is roughly the equivalent to a supermarket tin of tomatoes in capacity. It's about 437ml. The nice thing about these jars is on the side they also have graduated markings in mil, so you can see 100, 200, 300ml on the side. All the regular mouth jars also have ball mason written on them. On the other side here we have the cup capacity, and on the 4th side, if you like, is an embossed picture of some fruit. Now the pint jar, regular mouth pint jar, it's about 13 centimetres high. It's a very handy jar. You can use it for preserved tomatoes, for a lot of smaller vegetables, sauces, even individual serves of spaghetti bolognese if you're processing in a pressure canner. And the 3rd jar in the regular mouth family is the quart jar, the regular mouth quart. Again, the ball mason on the front, the graduated cup markings on the side, so you can see here that's the 3 cup mark, and on the other side that's the 800ml mark. It's nearly more or less a litre, just under a litre in a quart jar. The height of that jar is about 18 centimetres. With the regular mouth version of the pint, you can freeze the wide mouth pint because it doesn't have any shoulders, like these curved sides on the jar. So it makes the pint jar suitable for freezing, but not the regular mouth. The advantage of the wide mouth jars is that due to the width of the opening, makes it a lot easier for you to get your hand inside if you want to position large. Wide mouth jars all have wide mouth written underneath ball. So you remember earlier the regular mouth jars said ball mason. With the wide mouth jars they say wide mouth instead of mason at the bottom. But other than that, they're very similar in that they have the mils marking, the embossing and the cut markings on the sides. The next size up is the 1.5 pints. This is a new jar in the ball family. It used to be produced back in the old days and they've just started remanufacturing it again. 1.5 pints means that it's half as big as the pint and half as small as the quart. It's a very, very handy size because it's taller. About 17 centimetres tall. It's an excellent jar for preserving things like asparagus or long beans or even whole carrots. Very versatile in that quite often a pint jar is just a little bit too small for what you want to preserve, but the close to 1 litre quart size is just a little bit too big, just right in the middle. You'll notice too that it's a straight, slightly tapered jar, so again, okay for freezing. The wide mouth quart, very popular jar, especially if you're wanting to preserve things like peaches, pears, apples, anything that's quite chunky. It gives you room to manoeuvre the fruit inside the jar. It's also about 17 centimetres high, but you'll see that this jar has the little shoulders on it, so it's not suitable for freezing. And finally we have the half-gallon jar, which is pretty much more or less 2 litres, just under. It's an excellent jar for preserving fruit juices. A lot of beer makers put beer supplies in their half-gallon jars. Also good for pickles, or if you want to preserve large amounts of anything really. 23 centimetres high, and as mentioned with the quart jar, it has the shoulders on it. Ball also have a specialist range of jam jars, or jelly jars as the Americans like to call them, and they're all quilted. And quilting means that it has a sort of diamond pattern that you can see on the side of the jars. It'll look like the old-fashioned whiskey glass. Now all the quilted jars are a regular mouth size. They come with a patterned lid, and they come in the 3 sizes: 4 ounce, which is roughly 120 mils, 8 ounce or the half pint, which is roughly 230 mils, and the 12 ounce, which is around about 350 mils. Size wise, the little 4 ounce, very cute little jar, it's about 6 centimetres tall. The half pint, very handy for jams, it's about 10 centimetres tall. And the 12 ounce, just under 14 centimetres tall. You're not just restricted, of course, to preserving jams and jellies in these jars. They're similarly tempered as the wide mouth and the regular mouth jars, so you can still use these to preserve no matter what you like inside them. The other feature of these, which is quite hard to see unless you examine them up close, is there is a little oval shape on the jar which does not have any quilting on it, and that allows you to put a label on the jar, which does come with the jars when you buy them by the case, or you can buy them separately. They're called the Ball dissolvable labels. We'll have a look at those shortly. The Elite collection jars are a special jar. They come in packs of 4, whereas virtually all the other jars that we've looked at so far come in packs of 12, with the exception of the half-gallon jar, which comes in a pack of 6, and the 1.5 pints jar that comes in a pack of 9. All the rest come in packs of 12. With these jars, they come in packs of 4. They're much sought after for candle making due to the square shape of the jar. The little half pint size, which is again roughly 230 ml. Really nice little size for doing brandied fruits. With both the elite jars, they come with the wide mouth lid with a pattern on it. The half pint elite jar stands about 5 centimetres tall, whilst the pint jar stands about 10 centimetres tall. And finally, we have 2 novelty jars. They're not designed to be used for preserving purposes, but they are very popular for other uses. For example, the ball mason handle jar, which is a jar with a lid screw band fitting on it. So you can fit any regular mouth jar lid on the top. For example, that's our daisy cut lid. It sits nicely on top of the jar. You can also use the standard regular mouth lid and band on that mug. And we have a little salt and pepper shaker, which can be used without the lid. You can use it as a small cocktail glass or with the lid for salt and pepper. The salt and pepper shakers have Golden Harvest embossing on the front. They stand 9 centimetres tall, whilst the handle jars with the lid on them about 13 centimetres high.
I'm so tired. I need some fuel to build a fire.